Hi, everyone. I'm Kiva Schuler. I'm the founder here and the CEO of the Jai Institute for Parenting, and I'm really excited to share Lelia with you. Lelia is one of our coaches in South Africa, and it's always just so fun to hear everyone's stories. So, Lelia, what were you doing before you became a parenting coach?
So I was more of a child advocate, and I had found a little space online to just share how I wanted people to see what the world looked like from a child's perspective.
Mm.
And I was counseling families here in South Africa in a very informal way and raising my own children.
What had you take the leap? And well, when did you get certified through Jai?
I think it was, 2018. I think it was then.
It's been a few years. And what was it that you saw here that had you want to join us?
I wanted to feel more confident in what I was sharing with parents. So I was helping them as a coach, but not sure whether I was doing it right. And just something felt like I needed more resources because I take the advice that I give people or the support that I give parents very seriously. And I really did that for me 100%. There were so many things that I was not doing correctly.
Yeah.
So
what
sometimes we know.
Oh, go ahead.
No, just sometimes we know what we're not supposed to do, but we don't know what else to do.
So before Jai, you were working as an advocate. Was that just kind of based on your own experience and how you were navigating parenting for yourself?
Yes, so I have 6 children,
Wow.
and my eldest is now 24 and my youngest is 6. So with my older 4 kids from my first marriage, we raised them with like James Dobson and people like that, where it was, listen the first time, be obedient. And that never was a good fit for me. I was very unhappy parenting that way. I felt very disconnected from my children. People said I was a wonderful parent and I had very well-behaved children, but I just knew that things weren't authentic and that I'd lost their trust and their hearts. And when I got divorced, I was looking for ways to heal myself and my children. And I'd never been on the internet before or on Facebook before. I'd had quite a sheltered life. And so a friend of mine helped me get a Facebook account, and I was just researching, how to heal little hearts or something like that. And I stumbled across Alon Nast's Gentle Parenting. And she mentored me, and I think I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I'd always wanted somebody to tell me, to give me permission to do, that the kids are going to turn out great if you do it this way that felt like more instinctive. And so I just wanted to share it with everyone. I was so excited.
That's interesting because the dominant model, right, that sort of power over does create children who know how to comply, who other people perceive have good behavior. And yet what those of us who long for something different know is that there's a cost, right? There's a price that we pay for that good behavior and compliance and obedience. What was that cost for you? How did you experience that?
I felt like with my eldest, we'd really broken his spirit. And I recognized, in his dad, so much of what must have happened in his childhood and how that pattern was repeating itself. Yeah. And I recognized in, so many people around me, we were raising our children in like a church community, that some of the boys were becoming real bullies and others of them were being bullied. And everyone was like, we don't know what's going on, and I could just see what was happening. And so I really wanted to be able to heal my children from that. And I really actually didn't know how.
Yeah.
But once you start learning, it's like you remember, it's like, oh, I've always known this, but somehow I forgot.
Yeah. Well, I think that the world tells us it's not possible, or that that's permissive parenting, or children are going to go wild and run amok. And so then when you learn that there are different ways and how to communicate with compassion and empathy and clarity, it is kind of like this eureka moment. We're like, oh my gosh, this does exist and it is possible. And I really align with then you saying, I have to get this to other parents. I had that moment too. I get it.
Yes. And the cost is really that we betray ourselves every single day. Like I felt like such a phony. And I felt like my children couldn't truly respect me or feel safe with me because I was so unpredictable. You know, one minute I'm nurturing and loving, and the next minute they're not listening, and I'm sending them to their rooms, and just all the things that we've been led to believe raise responsible adults. And of course, we know they don't.
Mm. So you came to Jai, and obviously here we have a whole training, 6-month comprehensive training program on peaceful parenting methodologies. How did that integrate? So I take it you have a new family, younger children now. What are you noticing are the biggest differences?
Well, definitely so my youngest son, if I'd only had him, I would think children were a walk in the park. Like he's just such an easy child. He's so loving and affectionate, and he's like an advert for peaceful parenting, you know. My daughter, so my youngest daughter, she is very highly sensitive. So I would imagine that if she hadn't been parented, not that we parent perfectly, obviously, but without punishment and with more attunement and awareness, you know, we know when we're not being conscious and we apologize. I feel like she would probably be very broken, very compliant, and I recognize that that's what happened with one of my other children. And so for me, because all of them have lived with me all the time, it's been a lot of mourning, you know, realizing, oh my gosh, like I was this hard on this child at this same age, and just the softening of the heart, you know, as we parent this way, realizing how hard my heart was then. So a lot of mourning. I've managed to let go of most of the guilt and just take the responsibility of helping them to reparent themselves.
Yeah.
And I would say that intrinsically, you know, the younger four are generally more intrinsically motivated. So we recognize that and we work on that together as a family. But it is very difficult to know that you can't go back, that you can only heal forward.
You can only go forward. And, we always say it's never too late. Repair is always within reach. Would you say that that's true? What's happened with the older kids?
I definitely think that's true. I think children are longing for us to say to them, you know, we're so sorry. We want to reconnect. When I first told the children, I sat them down and I apologized and I said, you know, in our family, these are our values. What do you think? And they gave me theirs. Two of them were really excited and they just thrived. The other two tested. They were like, this doesn't feel right and we're not sure we'll be okay without the punishment. Like, we need you to take stuff away from us to listen.
Didn't trust themselves.
Yes. And then I have to say that from an outsider's perspective, so, other family members might say my younger two are wild, and that I did a much better job with the older four. Just recognizing that we are going to get pushback, that's been one of the things that's felt good in a way that I'm so grounded that I believe so much in this way of being, in relationship with our children.
Yeah, you become unflappable, I think, in your knowing of what is right for your family. And we'll talk about your coaching business in just a minute, but I think part of our work is helping parents ground into their own values, their own decisions for how they choose to be. So then when other people's opinions, as they will come, it's like we can just flow with them, and we don't need to be so attached to what other people think is or is not happening in our own homes, not actually their business.
True. It's like life starts to, it's more important how it feels than what it looks like.
Yeah, and that this most precious relationship, parent to child, is the most vital thing, the most. So you came to Jai because you wanted to be able to offer, a process, a structure. How have you been growing your business? Tell me about your coaching practice.
Okay, so I've definitely felt a shift where I started out being more of a child advocate, and now, of course, we still all love that, but I'm a parent activist. Like, I see the child within everyone, and my heart is just moved from maybe criticizing and judging, which is kind of ironic because obviously I was very similar, but more compassionate and like an expansion. So I think as I've grown, my business has grown, but I was really nervous. So when I first got my qualification, I actually didn't use it for a while. I had a lot of limiting beliefs to work through, a lot of self-doubt. I struggled terribly with anxiety. And so I kind of, put it on the back burner, and I carried on with my little advocacy work. But then something just changed, I was just, something just started to grow inside of me, self-worth perhaps. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this work, is that we are always growing ourselves at the same time. And so I just started to take risks, just put myself out there, and it's been very positive. The last year, in fact, I would say March last year, parents were really quite desperate for help.
Yes.
With the lockdown. And I just started to believe in myself and, push my prices up to what I felt my time was worth, and just take a leap of faith. And people must have felt that shift.
Yeah, I mean, confidence is the number one predictor of the business success of what we do. I say to our coaches all the time, I can train you to be the best parenting coach in the world, but without the confidence to start being more visible, letting people know that you can help, offering your services for money, there's no business. And more importantly, people don't get helped. What I love about what you just said is that, how I would interpret it is that the purpose, right? That your knowing that you could help people became more powerful than your fear and doubt. And when that happens, I see it all the time, from where I sit, just magic happens. The business starts growing, and we see you so active on social media doing beautiful things. So we see you, Lelia. It's amazing. It's amazing. You're welcome.
Yes, and seeing ourselves as, so when I recognized, it's the message that I'm sharing with people, it's the hope, so it doesn't matter whether they like me or not, just how we are still always healing that inner child. And that's what I love about this, is when I'm working with people, often they help me just by listening to them. It's like, oh my gosh, this is just the best life I could imagine. And I wanted to be a child psychologist or a teacher or something when I was growing up, but I never quite knew which one it was that I wanted to do. So I sort of floated around, studying a little bit of psychology and a little bit of that. And now it's like, this is what I've always wanted to do. I just didn't know the thing,
Totally. I know. I always tell this story about, I took a class my senior year of college, and I was not the best college student. It was at 8 a.m., family psychology and systems. I never missed it. And I thought, it's so interesting that this is where I've ended up, because obviously that inner passion for this work was always there, even back then. I just didn't know it. It's amazing. And I think, to your point, when we work with parents, it's like the ripple effect is to the children far more
Yes.
effectively than if we worked, I think, with the children directly, wouldn't you say?
I agree, 100%. And the people that seek out parent coaches, they really want the best for their children. So instead of outsourcing that, taking their kids to a play therapist or a psychologist, they suddenly realize, oh, wow, the relationship I have with my child, not that those things aren't necessary, but often they no longer need those services because it was the relationship that the child really needed to feel safe in. And so that's very exciting to see people realize, to feel confident in their ability to parent their children.
Beautiful, beautiful. What kinds of shifts have you seen in the families that you're working with?
Definitely less anxiety, and that I obviously love. And it's interesting how so often people are drawn to me because they struggle with anxiety, and I'm like thinking the whole time, me too.
Like, I know.
So yes, and I suppose they fall in love with their kids again, which I love, because often people, when they see me, I can tell they feel so much guilt around really not enjoying parenting and sometimes feeling like they dislike their children. And so at the end of our time together, when I can see that they've been able to heal the relationship, and often it's all about healing something in themselves, right? That is just the best feeling in the world. Yeah.
So good. What would you say to someone who was watching this and perhaps joining us as a JI certified parenting coach?
I would say, if this is what you want to do, then trust your heart and just keep pushing forward. Because sometimes when we look online, we feel like, oh, there's so many people helping, but there are not enough. We still need many, 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 many more.
Yeah. Yeah, I think about it, a full practice as a coach is 10 to 12 clients at a time, and then maybe you have some groups, and there's so many people who need help. So that's great. Where can people find out more about you and your work, Lelia?
So on Instagram, it's Synergy Parenting. And on Facebook, it's Synergy Gentle Parenting Resources. I can't change that. I'm actually limited on Facebook. I try to change my name too many times, and
Facebook is very, Facebooky, but we'll find you. We'll put the links in the comments to your pages. I was on your Instagram recently, and you're doing a beautiful job. Really, really, as a marketer, lovely messaging. You're doing great.
my 16-year-old daughter is helping me a lot with that.
Oh, well, that's amazing. I love that. You're like, I know how to do this, Mom. So good.
So, your Instagram is not looking aesthetic. I'm like, it's the message. She's like, no.
Love them so much. That's fantastic. All right, my dear. Well, we can wish you so much continued success. It's amazing to watch you flourish and watch your business grow. Thank you so much for being with me here today.
It's lovely.
Bye, Lelia.
Bye.